The internet showed up one day, and for a brief, insane moment, everyone agreed it was worth everything. Grandmas bought stocks. Taxi drivers gave tips. A website selling pet food was worth more than real companies. It was the late 90s. The internet was new, terrifying, and the best business idea since bread. A young person in a garage could type .com after any word and instantly become a billionaire. Allegedly. Investors didn't need profits. They needed potential. And potential was absolutely everywhere, apparently. Venture capitalists threw money at anything with a modem and a dream. Business plans were optional. The pitch was simple. Get big fast. Profits come later. Much, much later. Maybe never. Who cares? So what does your company actually do? We're disrupting the space of disruption digitally. Between 1995 and 2000, the Nasdaq stock index climbed over 500%. 500%. Companies raised millions in IPO without ever making a single dollar in revenue. The crowd went absolutely wild. Advertising dollars poured into websites nobody visited, office spaces filled with beanbags and foosball tables. Startups hired hundreds of people before building anything. Salaries, perks, and parties were all paid for by investors. Companies spent fortunes on Super Bowl ads for products nobody had ever ordered. It was spectacular and insane. We burned through $40 million in 6 months. And what did you build? I know. And vibes bite war. The Federal Reserve had been raising interest rates quietly, like a parent turning off the music at a party. Money gets more expensive when rates go up. Suddenly, borrowing millions to burn on vibes felt less fun. Investors started asking questions, actual questions, like, when does this company make money exactly? The Nasdaq peaked on March 10, 2000. It had been an enormous, stupid, beautiful catastrophe party. Then, nothing dramatic. Just a quiet, slow, horrible realization that the math did not work. Stock prices started falling, first quietly, then loudly, then like an avalanche of extremely bad news. Companies that once had billion-dollar valuations were suddenly worth nothing. Zero. The math was that simple. Pets.com, Cosmo.com, Webvan, Boo.com. 100 companies that shined brightly, then vanished. Thousands of persons lost their jobs. Not slowly, not gently. Layoff emails arrived in batches like pizza orders. Webvan, an online grocery giant, burned through $1 billion and collapsed before most people noticed it existed. The venture capitalists who once threw money at everything now sat very still, looking at their phones with regret. The Nasdaq lost 78% of its value in 2 years. 78% gone. My portfolio is down 90%. Have you tried? Not looking at it. Companies started running out of cash with shocking speed. Runways measured in weeks, not months. The persons who had been hailed as geniuses were now quietly updating their CVs in darkened rooms. In 18 months, $5 trillion in market value had simply evaporated. Not transferred. Evaporated. Poof. Regulators showed up after the party, which is their legally required moment. Historically speaking, always. Fraud emerged from the wreckage. Accounting tricks. Fake revenues. Executives selling shares before the collapse. We need to cut costs immediately. Should we start with the espresso machines? Start with the staff. By 2002, the Nasdaq had crashed from 5,000 points to under 1,400. The dream was dust. Real people lost real savings. Retirement funds evaporated. Persons who had bet everything on screens lost everything. Silicon Valley went quiet. The beanbags were sold. The foosball tables collected dust in storage units. But here is the dark twist. The infrastructure built during the bubble was absolutely real and actually mattered. Fiber optic cables buried in the ground during the boom became the backbone of everything we use now. Companies like Amazon and Google survived barely and used the cheap wreckage to build their future empires. Everything is back. It's been 2 years. Right. White. But it's back, though. Congress held hearings. Analysts who had called these stocks buys quietly deleted their old predictions online. Some executives went to prison. Most did not. That is, historically, how these stories tend to end. The rubble cleared slowly. Cheap office space, cheap engineers, a whole ecosystem waiting to be reused. A new generation of young persons looked at the wreckage, saw the cheap tools left behind, and got to work. Facebook launched in 2004, YouTube in 2005, Twitter in 2006. The internet had been reloaded from a backup. The survivors had learned the lesson. Make revenue. Make it early. Make it before you buy a foosball table. Amazon's stock price in 2002 was $6. Its stock price 20 years later was over $3,000. The persons who stayed in the industry, quiet, broke, patient, would soon be the most powerful in the world. And here's the strangest part. The exact same pattern appeared again in 2021 with crypto and SPACs and NFTs. Persons forgot. Balway Neo, because persons always forget. That is the one guaranteed product of every single financial boom. The cycle is not a mistake. The cycle is the mechanism. Boom builds the road. Bust clears the builders. Should we invest in the next big thing? Probably. Just make sure it actually does something. The dot-com bust wiped out the noise and left the signal. The internet, it turned out, was real after all. The lesson is not that the internet was fake. The lesson is that the price was fake. Big difference. Every new technology comes with a price that is wrong. Always too high. Always corrected. Always eventually right. The dot-com bubble was not stupid. It was early. The graveyard of companies paved the road for what came next. The internet did not fail. The pricing failed. The expectations failed. The internet itself showed up for work. The grandma who bought stocks at the peak lost money. The grandma who bought after the crash made a fortune. Timing is not everything, but timing is definitely something. And in markets, something is usually everything. The dot-com bubble, a story about greed, infrastructure, survival, and whether your dog food subscription will deliver.